The diamond bracelet lay across Officer Gideon Pruitt's black-gloved palm, like a verdict. Under the bright white lights of Alderwick House, every stone flashed clearly enough for the shoppers gathered near the cosmetics counters to see. Several people had already raised their phones. A woman beside the perfume display whispered that the bracelet had to be worth thousands. Gideon turned toward the tall black woman, standing beside a glass display table, where the contents of her small black bag had been scattered. "You still want to tell me? You've never seen this before." Althea Braddock looked at the bracelet, then at the small, structured crossbody bag from which Gideon claimed it had been recovered. Her wallet, phone keys, lipstick, and glasses case lay beneath the showroom lights. A cream Alderwick shopping bag containing the sapphire jewelry she had just purchased remained several feet away. "I told you exactly what happened," she said. "That bracelet was placed in my bag." Lenora Voss, the store's loss prevention director, gave a sharp laugh. Of course it was. Nothing about Althea's appearance revealed her rank. "Ask the sales associate, who was working at the jewelry counter," Althea said. "Her name is Nadine Fairchild." "Then secure every surveillance angle before anyone touches the system." Gideon stepped closer. "You don't get to direct the investigation. I'm asking you to conduct one. We found stolen property in your bag. You found it after the store's security director had control of the scene." Lenora's expression tightened. "I never touched her bag." The hesitation came before the denial. It lasted less than a second, but Althea had spent 26 years watching people decide whether to lie. "Then the video will settle it," she said. Gideon picked up the small black bag and handed it to Lenora. "Package this as evidence." Althea's voice hardened. "Do not return my property to her." Gideon stared at her. "Put your hands behind your back." A few shoppers murmured. Someone moved closer with a phone held upright. Althea did not reach for Gideon. "Raise her voice or step away." "My identification is inside the zippered pocket," she said. "You should verify it before you make this worse." "I've heard that one before." "What exactly have you heard?" "That the rules don't apply to you." The words carried farther than Gideon intended. Even his partner, Officer Rowan Kessler, looked uncomfortable. Althea slowly placed her hands behind her back. Gideon closed the first cuff around her right wrist. The metal was colder than she expected. For most of her adult life, Althea had stood on the other side of that sound. She knew how quickly handcuffs changed the way strangers looked at someone. The woman beside the perfume counter stopped appearing curious and began appearing certain. A father guided his young son farther away. Another shopper angled her camera to capture Althea's face. Gideon tightened the second cuff. "You are arresting me without reviewing the available evidence," Althea said. "I'm arresting you because a $5,000 bracelet was found in your bag. Then preserve your body camera footage, the store recordings, and every communication you've had with Ms. Voss today." Gideon shook his head. "Everybody's a lawyer once the cuffs go on." "No," Althea replied. "Some people understand what happens when an officer chooses a conclusion before checking the facts." Rowan had taken Althea's wallet from the interior pocket of the black crossbody bag. He opened it, expecting to find only a driver's license and credit cards. Instead, he went still. Gideon noticed. "What?" Rowan examined an identification card, then looked at Althea. "Gideon, we need to verify this." "Verify what?" Rowan lowered his voice. "She says she's the police chief in Glenhaven." A burst of laughter escaped Gideon. "And I'm the governor." Althea watched him without changing her expression. "Call it in." Gideon's smile faded when she gave Rowan her full name, badge number, and the direct line to the Glenhaven Communications Center, without pausing to recall any of them. Rowan stepped away and keyed his radio. By the time dispatch answered, the crowd had grown. Less than a minute later, the voice coming through Rowan's shoulder microphone changed the entire atmosphere around them. "Unit 12, identity confirmed. Althea Braddock is the sitting police chief of Glenhaven. Ashcombe Command has been notified. Deputy Chief Orson Keene is responding to your location." No one spoke. Gideon looked from the radio to the woman he had just handcuffed. Althea did not smile. Now she said quietly, "Are you willing to look at the camera?" 45 minutes earlier, she had entered Alderwick House, thinking only about her sister. Inez Braddock's 30th wedding anniversary was 3 days away. Althea had spent weeks pretending she had plenty of time to find a gift, even though everyone in her family knew she often remembered birthdays while driving to meetings and bought Christmas presents after midnight. This anniversary was different. When Althea and Inez were young, their mother had owned a small pair of sapphire earrings. She wore them to church graduations and every family wedding until mounting medical bills forced her to sell them. Years later, Inez admitted that the earrings were the only piece of their mother's jewelry she still thought about. Althea remembered. She came to Alderwick House to buy a sapphire necklace and matching earrings. Not an imitation set ordered online, but something chosen carefully enough to remain in the family. For once she had dressed with no uniform and no official meeting in mind. Her soft pink t-shirt, fitted without being tight, looked bright against her deep mahogany brown skin. Her black jeans had a clean, modern silhouette, and her white leather sneakers were comfortable enough for hours of walking through the mall. The small black crossbody bag rested against her hip. Her long braids were pulled back neatly, and her subtle makeup drew attention to her sharp eyes and naturally composed expression. No driver waited outside. No aide followed her. Her duty phone remained on silent. At the jewelry counter, Nadine Fairchild showed her 3 sapphire sets. The first was too ornate. The second looked beautiful under the display lighting, but ordinary when Nadine carried it closer to the window. The third had deep blue oval stones, surrounded by small diamonds. The color reminded Althea of the earrings their mother used to wear. "I'll take this one," she said. Nadine smiled. "Your sister is going to love it. She'll complain that I spent too much. Will she give it back?" Not a chance. While Nadine prepared the receipt, another customer arrived at the opposite end of the counter. Blythe Haviland was in her mid-30s, dressed in a pale designer suit, with sunglasses resting on top of her blonde hair. 2 employees immediately greeted her by name. One offered sparkling water. Another unlocked a display case before Blythe finished pointing. Althea paid little attention until Nadine stepped away to retrieve a presentation box. Blythe asked to see a diamond tennis bracelet. The sales associate placed it on a velvet pad, then turned to answer a customer standing behind her. Althea happened to be facing a mirrored display. In the reflection, she saw Blythe slide the bracelet off the velvet and into the sleeve of her jacket. The movement was quick, practiced, and almost casual. Althea did not confront her. The angle in the mirror distorted part of the counter, and she knew better than to accuse someone based on an incomplete view. She waited until Nadine returned, then leaned closer. "The customer at the other end may have taken a bracelet. I could be mistaken. So please check your cameras before anyone approaches her." Nadine's pleasant expression disappeared. "You saw her take it." "I saw something that needs to be reviewed." Nadine looked toward Blythe, who was now examining a pair of earrings, as though nothing had happened. "I'll tell security." Althea signed the receipt for the sapphire set. Nadine placed the necklace and earrings inside a navy presentation box, wrapped it in cream paper, and slipped it into an Alderwick shopping bag. Neither woman noticed Blythe watching them through the glass. Nadine left the sapphire necklace on its velvet display tray for a final inspection, and stepped into the stockroom to retrieve a fresh presentation box for the matching earrings. While she waited, Althea moved toward a tall mirror beside the consultation area. She lifted the necklace carefully against the neckline of her pink t-shirt, trying to imagine how the deep blue stones would look on Inez. To keep the chain from catching against the strap, Althea slipped the small black crossbody bag from her shoulder and placed it on the padded chair beside her. The magnetic flap had not fully latched after she returned her wallet to the interior pocket. Blythe crossed the aisle with her phone in one hand. As she passed the chair, she deliberately let the phone fall beside Althea's bag. "I'm sorry," she said, crouching to retrieve it. Althea shifted slightly to give her room, gathering her long braids over one shoulder, while she continued studying the sapphire necklace in the mirror. Shielded by her own body, Blythe lifted the loose flap, slipped the diamond bracelet into the bag, and pushed it beneath Althea's glasses case. She stood, offered a quick, embarrassed smile, and walked away. The entire interaction lasted no more than 5 seconds. Inside the loss prevention office, Nadine found Lenora Voss reviewing weekly incident reports. Lenora had worked for Alderwick House for 13 years and built a reputation for turning shoplifting statistics into polished presentations for executives. For the past 6 months, she had also been defending the store's retail safety partnership with the Ashcombe Police Department. The agreement funded dedicated police overtime around the shopping district. Alderwick House covered part of the cost, while the city paid the rest through a retail crime initiative. The contract was due for review the following week. Arrests had declined. Executives were beginning to question whether Lenora's department justified its budget. Nadine told her what Althea had seen. Lenora immediately checked the live surveillance feed from the jewelry counter. One camera showed Blythe standing near the bracelet. It also showed Althea speaking quietly to Nadine. A second angle captured Blythe crouching beside the padded chair, where Althea had placed her small black bag. But a cosmetics display blocked her hands from view. Lenora recognized Blythe. Her father's development company owned 2 commercial properties used by Alderwick House. The Haviland family hosted charity events in the store's private dining room, referred corporate clients to its personal shopping department, and had spent more than $400,000 there during the previous year. Lenora also knew what would happen if Blythe's name appeared in a police report. Attorneys would arrive. Executives would call. Every decision Lenora made would be examined. Then an electronic alert from the jewelry case registered that the bracelet had been removed from its assigned display zone. Lenora looked again at the monitor. Althea had returned the black bag to her shoulder and was walking toward the main aisle with the cream Alderwick shopping bag in her other hand. A simpler answer presented itself. Go back to the counter, Lenora told Nadine. What are you going to do? Confirm the inventory. But the customer told me. I said go back. Before approaching Althea, Lenora called the police. She reported that a woman had concealed a diamond bracelet and was preparing to leave the store. She described a tall black woman wearing a pink t-shirt and black jeans, carrying a small black shoulder bag and a cream Alderwick shopping bag near the cosmetics department. Then she intercepted Althea near the exit. Ma'am, I need to inspect your bag. Althea stopped. Why? Store security. Do you have a specific concern? We received an alert from the jewelry department. Althea glanced toward the counter. Blythe was gone. You should speak to Nadine before you touch anything. Lenora reached for the small black bag hanging against Althea's hip. Althea moved it out of reach. You may inspect it in my presence, but you are not taking it into another room. Lenora interpreted that boundary as resistance. By the time Gideon Pruitt and Rowan Kessler arrived, she had already transformed the interaction into something more useful. She told them Althea had attempted to flee, refused to cooperate, and behaved aggressively when confronted. Gideon knew Lenora well. He had worked more than 30 overtime shifts at Alderwick House during the previous year, each one arranged through her office. The money helped him cover a divorce settlement and maintain a second apartment near his daughter's school. He also knew the retail safety partnership was at risk. A major arrest days before the contract review would benefit everyone involved. Althea again told them to bring Nadine to the scene and review the surveillance footage. Gideon ignored both requests. He allowed Lenora to empty the contents of Althea's small black bag onto a glass display table. Her wallet, phone keys, lipstick, and glasses case landed beneath the bright showroom lights. Lenora reached beneath the glasses case and produced the missing bracelet. The cream Alderwick shopping bag remained beside Althea. Inside were the wrapped sapphire set and the printed receipt, showing exactly what she had purchased. Gideon treated the location of the bracelet as the beginning and end of the investigation. He did not ask who had touched the bag. He did not request the complete camera sequence. He did not interview Nadine, although Althea gave him her name twice. Rowan suggested that they review the recording. Gideon answered quietly enough that he thought only Rowan could hear him. Alderwick wants an arrest. Give them one. His body camera recorded every word. After dispatch confirmed Althea's identity, Gideon reached for the cuffs. We can clear this up, he said. Turn around. Althea did not move. You believed you had probable cause. 2 minutes ago, she said. My job title did not change the contents of that bag. I'm trying to release you. And I'm asking whether you would be releasing me if dispatch had identified me as a school secretary. The crowd remained silent. Gideon glanced at the phones pointed in his direction. Rowan spoke first. We should wait for command. Althea nodded. That is the first correct decision either of you has made. Deputy Chief Orson Keene arrived within 12 minutes. He was a broad-shouldered manner often concealed how quickly he assessed a room. He did not know Althea personally, but he knew her reputation. More importantly, he could see that the arrest had already become a public crisis. He ordered Rowan to remove the cuffs and instructed another unit to secure the immediate area. Gideon began explaining that stolen property had been recovered, but Orson stopped him. Has anyone viewed the entire surveillance sequence? Lenora stepped forward. I have the relevant clip ready. I asked whether anyone from the department viewed the entire sequence. No one answered. Orson looked at Althea. Chief Braddock, I apologize for how this was handled. Save the apology until you know what happened. He accepted the correction. Lenora led them to the loss prevention office and played a short recording. It began with Althea standing near the jewelry counter and ended with her walking toward the exit. The bracelet itself never appeared. That is not the full recording, Althea said. Lenora kept her eyes on the screen. It covers the relevant period. The timestamp jumps 11 seconds. Gideon leaned forward. 11 seconds doesn't change where the bracelet was found. It might explain how it got there. Orson asked Lenora for access to the original file. She claimed that only corporate information technology could export it. Althea noticed 3 live camera windows on a second monitor. One faced the jewelry department from the cosmetics aisle. Another captured the mirrored column beside the counter. "You have more than one angle," she said. Lenora minimized the windows. "Those cameras don't show the incident clearly." "Then there is no reason to hide them." Nadine stood in the doorway. Her face was pale. Lenora turned sharply. "Go back to your station." Nadine did not leave. "I saw Ms. Haviland put something in the bag." The room changed. Lenora's voice became carefully controlled. "You told me you weren't certain. I was certain. You told me I was confused." Orson asked Nadine to sit down and explain everything from the beginning. She described Althea's warning, Blythe's movement near the bracelet, and the moment she saw Blythe lift the flap of Althea's black crossbody bag. She also described Lenora, ordering her not to speak. Gideon looked toward Lenora with the first sign of genuine alarm. Orson requested a digital forensics unit. He ordered the entire surveillance system preserved and directed officers to locate Blythe Haviland before she left the mall. Blythe had already reached the parking structure. Officers stopped her beside a silver luxury SUV. At first, she denied touching the bracelet. When told that several cameras might have captured her, she insisted. She had only picked up her phone. Her confidence weakened after investigators recovered deleted text messages from her conversation with Lenora. The first had been sent shortly after Blythe realized Althea had seen her near the bracelet. "Handle this. My father cannot be dragged into another mess," Lenora had replied. "Stay calm. We have someone else." That sentence ended Lenora's claim that she had made an honest mistake. It also opened questions no one at Alderwick House wanted answered. The independent investigation lasted 4 months. Investigators reviewed every retail arrest Gideon had made during his paid overtime shifts. In 11 cases, his report stated that he had relied on store personnel and recovered merchandise, but none documented that he had reviewed complete surveillance footage. Several recordings had been archived under incorrect incident numbers. Others were never provided to defense attorneys. The pattern benefited everyone except the people who had been arrested. Alderwick House could report aggressive loss prevention numbers to its insurer. Lenora could defend her department's budget. The city could cite arrest statistics when renewing the retail safety partnership. Gideon received profitable overtime shifts and built a reputation for productivity. Some defendants had their charges dismissed. Others had not been so fortunate. Della Morrow had been 54 when Gideon arrested her for stealing a bottle of perfume. She had worked as a pharmacy technician for 19 years. The bottle was found inside a store shopping bag she carried, and the public defender assigned to her case warned that fighting the charge could cost her job, even if she eventually won. Della accepted a misdemeanor plea. She lost her professional license anyway. The newly recovered footage showed another shopper placing the perfume on a crowded checkout counter beside Della's bag. A clerk mistakenly swept it into the bag while packing her purchase. Gideon never viewed that part of the recording. Lenora had. By the time Althea learned Della's story, news outlets were still asking whether she intended to sue Alderwick House for millions. Commentators debated whether the officers had been racist, corrupt, careless, or some combination of all three. Althea declined every interview focused only on the moment Dispatch called her chief. That moment had not made her innocent. It had only made powerful people nervous. At home, she replayed the arrest more often than she admitted. She remembered the shoppers moving away from her and the father guiding his son back. She remembered Gideon's hand on her arm and the certainty in his voice. Years of commanding officers had not protected her from the humiliation. They had merely shortened it. Inez noticed something was wrong when Althea arrived at the anniversary dinner, carrying the sapphire set had barely touched her meal. The celebration was held in a private room at a neighborhood restaurant, with old family photographs projected onto one wall. Inez and her husband had been married for 30 years. Their children arranged the dinner, although Althea quietly helped cover the cost. After dessert, Althea handed her sister the navy jewelry box. Inez opened it and stared at the sapphire necklace and matching earrings. For several seconds she said nothing. "You remembered Mama's earrings," she finally whispered. Althea nodded. Inez touched one of the stones with her fingertip. "You were 10 when she sold them. I remember you crying in the kitchen." "I wasn't crying over the earrings." "You were absolutely crying over the earrings." Inez smiled, but her expression changed when she noticed the faint marks still visible around Althea's wrists. "You said the arrest didn't hurt you." "I said I wasn't injured." "That isn't the same thing." Althea looked around the room at the family photographs, the children laughing and the sapphire stones shining beneath the warm light. For years, she had expected the people closest to her to accept whatever portion of a burden she was willing to reveal. Inez had never accepted those rules. "I keep thinking about what would have happened if I had been somebody else," Althea said. No badge. No command staff calling. No reporters waiting outside. Inez closed the box. "What are you going to do?" Althea looked at her wrists. Find out who else they decided not to believe. Gideon Pruitt was dismissed from the Ashcombe Police Department for making an arrest without adequate investigation, failing to disclose his financial relationship with Alderwick House, and submitting reports that omitted evidence favorable to defendants. Prosecutors later charged him with official misconduct and falsifying records in connection with 2 earlier cases. Lenora Voss was fired and charged with filing a false report, intimidating a witness, and concealing evidence. Her attorney argued that she had acted under enormous pressure from executives and influential customers. The explanation might have described her fear, but it did not excuse the people she selected to absorb the consequences. Blythe Haviland pleaded guilty to theft, evidence tampering, and causing the wrongful arrest of another person. Her father's attorneys negotiated aggressively, but the recovered messages made a quiet dismissal impossible. Rowan Kessler received a suspension for failing to intervene. He kept his job only after cooperating fully and acknowledging that he recognized the warning signs, but allowed Gideon to control the scene. The Retail Safety Partnership was suspended. An outside panel reviewed every arrest connected to the program. 7 convictions were vacated. The hearing for Della Morrow lasted less than 15 minutes. She sat at the defense table, wearing a dark blue dress and holding a folder containing every document related to the case that had cost her career. Althea sat in the second row, dressed in civilian clothes. The prosecutor informed the judge that the state no longer believed a crime had occurred. The recovered video established that Della had neither taken nor concealed the perfume. The judge signed the order vacating the conviction. There was no applause. Della lowered her head and pressed one hand against her mouth. Outside the courtroom, reporters crowded the front steps. Most were waiting for Althea. Her wrongful arrest had made national news. Della's had never reached the local paper. When the courthouse doors opened, Althea saw the cameras turn toward her. She stepped aside. Della stopped in the doorway, uncertain. Althea held the door open and nodded toward the microphones. "They should hear from you." Della walked forward slowly. 2 years earlier, she had left a courthouse through a side entrance carrying a conviction she did not deserve. That morning, she walked through the main doors with her name cleared. The cameras had come for a police chief. Instead, they recorded the woman whose story should have mattered from the beginning. Althea remained behind the open courthouse door as Della moved toward the waiting reporters.